Hi students, let's start with the classification of the animal kingdom. In the earlier part, I have given the details of the level of organization, symmetry, coelom, segmentation and notochord. We have seen that the kingdom Animalia has over 1 million species and they have some fundamental characteristics like the levels of organization, the symmetry, the body cavity or the coelom. Now, based upon this, we can divide the animals into different categories. Let's start with the first phylum, Phylum Porifera. Now, poriferans are commonly called as sponges. These are basically marine, that is, they live in the seawater, and very few are freshwater species. So, completely aquatic, you don't find them on the land, completely in sea, very few are seen in the freshwater. The other characteristics I will directly take from this table. So, remember this table and try to understand the characteristics. Where is the porifera? This is our porifera, and porifera has cellular level of organization. That is, the group of cells are loosely aggregated. No cell-to-cell coordination is seen. Most of the poriferans are asymmetrical. What is asymmetrical? You cannot cut the body into two equal halves. The body parts are not properly arranged into any geometrical pattern. Let's see the structure of a common sponge. A common sponge has a vase-like body with so many smaller openings on the surface, and these are called as ostia. Single is called as ostium, and there is a large opening called as osculum. So on the body surface, these are the ostia and the larger opening called as the osculum. The body is made up of loose aggregation of cells, an outer layer of cells, and there is one more inner layer of cells. The outer layer is made up of flat cells and the inner layer is made up of flagellated cells called as the collar cells. The gap between these two layers is filled with a cellular structure called as the mesohyle. The mesohyle can also have different type of cells, like amoebocytes are there, spicule forming cells can be there. Now the two main openings are ostia. This is also called as an inhalent pore, from where the water enters. As the water enters, the food particles also enter with it, the air also enters with it. And from here, a network of canals will start. So from ostia, the food slowly enters into a bigger cavity, and this is a central bigger cavity which is lined by choanocytes. Now this bigger cavity is called as spongocoel. The cavity of sponges is called as the spongocoel. The spongocoel opens by a larger opening called as osculum. Osculum is the exhalent pore from where the substances will move out. So now follow. The air, water and food enters through the ostia. From there they enter into this cavity called as the osculum. The exchange occurs and the waste is removed through the osculum, right? Now this is called as the water canal system. What is water canal system made up of? See, it started with the ostia, that is the opening from where the water enters into the small canals. These canals open into a larger cavity called as spongocoel, and from the spongocoel, all the waste materials, carbon dioxide is removed through the osculum. So ostia, the spongocoel and the osculum, they are the main part of the canal system. So what is the function of canal system? So canal system will help in three main functions, that is food gathering. It helps in the food gathering, It helps in respiration as the oxygen is also transported. It also helps in the removal of the waste. So as the body of the sponges has so many openings or holes in the body, the name is called as the porifera. Let's quickly see the other structures. I'll go system wise. The first one is digestion. Because there's no cell to cell coordination, the digestion is intracellular. Every cell will digest its own food materials, right? No other structures are seen here. But in the case of sponges, you can see some inner skeleton is made up of. To give the support to the body and the shape, they have some type of spicules. So as we have bones inside the body, they have small spicules, rod-like structures. These spicules are either made up of silica or spongin fibers. Remaining all the systems are highly reduced. So which system is well developed? The reproduction system is well developed. So coming to reproduction, they have two types of reproduction. These are asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is done by fragmentation. Now, what is fragmentation? If a small part of the sponge is cut off and lies on the ground, within no time, it can develop into a new sponge. That is, even the pieces, small pieces of the sponge can develop into a new sponge. So this method is called as the fragmentation, that they can divide into pieces and then they can again develop a whole body through the process called as the regeneration method. So these animals have very high power of regeneration. Coming to sexual reproduction, the sexual reproduction is done through the gametes. The same animal can produce both the gametes. Now this characteristic is called as hermaphrodites. That is, they are bisexuals. The same animal can produce both the gametes. Now how the reproduction occurs? See, when you have a sponge, the sperms produced from the one sponge will move out of the water and they will enter into another sponge, and then inside the body in the mesohyle the fertilization will occur. That is, they exchange the sperms. The same sperm will not fertilize with the ova of the same body. Now, this is called as cross fertilization. As the sperm enters and the fertilization is internal inside the body, this is called as internal fertilization. Now, after fertilization, the zygote will develop into a larva. The larva is free swimming, a group of cells with lot of flagella, and this freely swimming larva will move and then develop into a new sponge. As larva is there in the life history, the development is called as indirect. So they have internal fertilization and they have indirect development. Right? So let's quickly see about some of the examples of phylum Porifera. So phylum Porifera, so you have to follow your textbook also. The common examples are cycon. Cycon is also commonly called as scypha. Spongilla. Spongilla is a freshwater sponge. And Euspongia. And Euspongia is called as a bath sponge. We'll quickly revise the phylum Porifera. So poriferans are commonly called as sponges. Why porifera? As the body has many openings or the hole. The two types of openings are ostia, which are the inhalant pore from where the enters, and the second one is osculum, the larger opening from where the waste is sent out. From the table we have seen that they have cellular level of organization and these are mostly asymmetrical. Sponges are completely aquatic. Most of them are marine, live in the sea. A very few are freshwater. The body of the sponge is vase-like, sometimes colonial. The outer flat cells are present. Inner collar cells are called as choanocytes. The body has the opening ostia, which is the inhalant pore from where the air, food, water will enter. This enters through the small canals, and this opens into a cavity called as spongosphere. From the spongocele, the waste and the other things are removed through osculum. Now, this system is called as the water canal system, and water canal system is useful for gathering the food materials, exchange of respiratory gases, and removing the waste material. The other systems are highly reduced. Digestion is intracellular inside the cell. The body is supported by rod-like structures called as spicules made up of silica or spongin fibers. Two types of reproduction is seen, asexual and sexual. Asexual is by fragmentation, that is the regeneration process, and sexual reproduction, these are hermaphrodites. They can produce both the gametes. However, the gametes are exchanged. The same gametes don't fuse. This is called as cross-fertilization. The fertilization is inside the body, so called as internal fertilization. A free-swimming larva is present, which later develops into the adult. As larva is present, this is called as indirect development. The common examples: cycon, also called as scypha, spongilla, the freshwater sponge, and euspongia, the bath sponge. This is about Porifera. Let's continue with Coelenterata, the phylum Cnidaria. So let's see about the next phylum, that is the phylum Coelenterata, also called as Cnidaria. The common animals in this type of phylum are hydra, jellyfishes, sea anemones. So remember, whenever you study any animal, try to remember the shapes so that the study becomes easy. So this is a hydra, a jellyfish, and a sea anemone, right? So where do you find these animals? If you see hydra, jellyfish, sea anemone, these are completely aquatic in nature. So animals are completely aquatic, seen in water. Most of them are marine. Hydras are seen in freshwater. Some are free swimming animals, that is, they can freely swim like the jellyfishes. And some animals are sedentary, that is the sea anemones. Remember this table? So this table you have to remember very well. So the basic characters, where are we? We are in Coelenterata. How are coelenterates? These have tissue level of organization, radially symmetrical. Okay, they are the basic characters. So what are coelenterates? They have tissue level of organization. They are radially symmetrical. And if you remember, for radial symmetry, we have one more characteristic called as diploblastic. That is, they have two germinal layers, ectoderm and endoderm. So basic characters we have finished. The phylum Cnidaria or Coelenterata has hydra, jellyfishes, sea anemones, aquatic, basically marine, few are freshwater, free swimming, some are sedentary, tissue level, radial symmetry, diploblastic, right? So now I'll go for the body characteristics. Now why the name Cnidaria? The name Cnidaria has come from the cells cnidocytes. So these are called as the stinging cells. So this phylum has the specialized cells. So this is the cell which has a cavity, and this cavity is called as nida, and in this cavity there is a thread, and this thread generally is looped inside, and whenever the animal wants to attack, the thread is thrown outside, right? So this thread is called as the stinging thread, and these type of cells are also called as the cnidocytes because they have a nida. As they are stinging cells or the stinging capsule is called as nematocyst. These are mainly present on the body surface or on the tentacles. Use of the cnidocytes. The cnidocytes help in anchoring. They help in holding the lower surface, like in the case of sea anemones. These help in defense mechanism, that is the protection. So whenever the enemy attacks on them, they can help in stinging and get the protection. And they also help to capture the prey. They can collect the food. Small type of insects can be collected with the help of the stinging cells. Let's see the structure of the body. If I take Hydra, Hydra has two layers. The outer layer is called as ectoderm and the inner layer is called as endoderm. As these animals are diploblastic in nature, and the gap between the two is filled with mesoglia. This mesoglia is acellular, that is without any cells in some of the animals like Hydra. It can be cellular, like in the case of jellyfishes. In the case of sea anemone, you can see more cells and more type of tissue formation is there. This central cavity or central canal is called as the gastrovascular cavity. Of course, the opening is called as the mouth. And the mouth is present on a small structure called as the hypostome. Hypo means below, stoma is the mouth. So structure of Hydra. Hydra has two layers, ectoderm and endoderm. The gap is filled with the mesoglia, maybe cellular, maybe acellular. The inside cavity is called as the gastrovascular cavity, as it helps in the digestion process as a stomach. It also helps in circulation. A single opening is called as the mouth, and mouth is present on the hypostome. So let's see about the other systems. Coming to digestion. The digestion in the hydras or the cnidarians is intracellular, as in sponges, and now they are moving to extracellular digestion. That is, a part of food is digested inside the cell, intracellular. A part of the food is digested in the cavity, gastrovascular cavity, that is called as extracellular digestion. So this is the phylum from where we are moving from intracellular to extracellular digestion, right? All the other systems are taken care by the gastrovascular cavity, which help in the exchange of the substances. The next system is the respiration. Respiration is throughout the body surface by simple diffusion method. There are no complex structures like the circulation and the excretion and all. It is done by the simple diffusion. First time you can see development of the nerve cells. Neurons are developed and these neurons will form the nerve nets. That is, if we have a neurons, they will form nerve nets. They are connected to each other in a network way. No proper type of brain and spinal cord, nothing is there, but they have something called as the nerve nets. Two nerve nets are generally present in the cnidarians. Some cnidarians like sea anemone can form an exoskeleton called as corals. These corals are made up of calcium carbonate. So corals is one of the specific characteristics of the cnidarians. The body of cnidarians occurs in two forms. We call them as polyps and medusa. A polyp is a hydra-like animal and the medusa is a jellyfish-like animal. Now, what are the characteristics of polyp? It is cylindrical shape. How is medusa? It is umbrella shaped. We also use the word called as cup shaped. How is hydra? Hydra is sedentary. Sea anemones also sedentary. They can move, but the swimming is limited. How is Medusa? Medusa is free swimming. In Hydra, the budding is commonly seen. So when the budding is seen, I can say the polyps will generally prefer asexual reproduction. Then what is Medusaid? Medusaid prefers sexual reproduction. So common example for the polyps is Adamsia, the sea anemone, and Hydra. And common examples for the Medusa are the jellyfishes. Now in some forms like Obelia, Obelia is commonly called as sea fur. Now look how is Obelia. Now this is the body structure of Obelia, and as you know it is attached to the surface. I can call it as a polyp, isn't it? So what is a polyp? A polyp is cylindrical, a polyp is sedentary, a polyp is asexual, right? So when you see this, it is sedentary, so I can call this form as a polyp. Now this polyp has small buds, and these buds get separated. So as these buds get separated, they become medusa. This medusa will again reproduce to form a polyp. So what is happening in Obelia? In Obelia, a polyp undergoes asexual reproduction to form medusa. This medusa will reproduce sexually to form a polyp. That is, they have two generations alternating with each other. In one generation, a polyp is there which becomes a medusa. In the other, the medusa becomes polyp sexually. Now, this is called as alternation of generation. The alternation of generation is also called as metagenesis. So let's see the next part, that is the reproduction. You have seen reproduction can be both asexual and sexual, right? So the polyps will have asexual reproduction, whereas the medusaid will have the sexual reproduction. Yes, larva is present in the form, so I can call the development as indirect development. Let's see the common examples. The common examples are Hydra, you have seen already. Adamsia is called as sea anemone. Please refer your textbook for the proper details. A special animal is called as Pennatula. Pennatula is a sea pen. It's a colonial form, a very beautiful animal. It appears like this. It's not a feather. It is feather-like. In the olden days, these feathers were used to write, isn't it? So this is Pennatula. Gorgonia, and the beautiful animal called as sea fan. It is not your home fan. It is like the fan in the Japanese culture. So this is your sea fan, Gorgonia, as we have a Japanese fan, right? The next example is Meandrina. Meandrina is brain coral. It appears like the brain. The next example is Physalia. Physalia is polymorphic. It has both polyp, medusa, and so many forms are there. It is commonly called as Portuguese man of war. We have seen Obelia. Obelia is called as the sea fur. So this is about phylum Cnidaria or Coelenterata. Let's quickly revise it. Cnidarians or coelenterate common animals are hydra, jellyfishes, and sea anemones. These are completely aquatic, mostly marine, a few are freshwater forms. Animals like the jellyfishes can freely swim, but sea anemones are sedentary. Tissue level of organization, radial symmetry, and diploblastic in nature. How is the body form? The body form has ectoderm and endoderm, and the gap is filled with the mesoglia. There's only one opening called as mouth, which is present on hypostome. The body cavity is called as a gastrovascular cavity. Why the name Cnidaria? They have specialized stinging cells called as the cnidocytes, and this cavity with the stinging cell is called as the nematocyst. Use of the cnidocytes will help in different functions like anchoring like the defense mechanism and the capture of the prey. Coming to the systems, digestion, both extracellular and intracellular. First time we have seen development of extracellular, moving towards the higher form. Respiration by simple diffusion method, excretion by simple diffusion method. First time we can see development of the nerve cells in the form of nerve nets. Some cnidarians can form a calcium carbonate exoskeleton called as the corals. The body occurs in two forms, we call them as zooids, and the two forms are polyp and medusa. Polyp like hydra, polyp like sea anemone. These are cylindrical, sedentary, and mostly the reproduction is asexual by budding method. Jellyfishes are umbrella-shaped or cup-shaped, free-swimming, and they have sexual reproduction. Some special cases are there like Obelia, the zephyr. The zephyr occurs in two forms, dimorphic. That is, it is a polyp, undergoes asexual reproduction to produce a medusoid stage. This medusa undergoes sexual reproduction to produce the polyp. So they have alternation of generation, also called as metagenesis. The other features, reproduction, as we have seen, both asexual and sexual, asexual by budding. In sexual, a larva is present, so we can call the development as indirect. The most common examples, hydra, Adamsia, Pennatula or sea pen, Gorgonia or sea fan, Meandrina, the brain coral, Physalia, Portuguese man of war, and Obelia is the zephyr. So this is about the cnidaria or coelenterata. Let's continue with the next phylum, the Ctenophora. So let's start the next phylum, the phylum Ctenophora. Phylum Ctenophora includes the common animals which are called as sea walnuts, also called as comb jellies. So as you can see in the picture, these are round shaped and these have 8 ciliated bands or comb-like structures which help in the locomotion. As we have these comb-like ciliated bands, we call them as the comb jellies, right? So let's see the basic characters of the Ctenophora. Ctenophora are exclusively marine. You find them only in the seawater. They are very closely related to the Coelenterata or the cnidarians. That is, these are also at tissue level of organization, same as Hydra. These are also radially symmetrical, like the cnidaria. And ctenophores are also diploblastic, that is, two germinal layers, ectoderm and endoderm. Now, when they have so many similarities with the cnidarians, why they are not placed along with the cnidarians? Because here the cnidocytes, that is, the stinging cells are absent. The major difference between the ctenophores and the cnidarians are they don't have the cnidocytes. Let's see the other properties quickly. Just as the cnidarians, the digestion in the ctenophores is both intracellular and extracellular, no changes in that, same as Hydra. They have only sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is absent here. The fertilization is external, that is outside the body in the water. And because they have a larval form in the life history, we can call them as the indirect development. A very special characteristics of the ctenophores is the bioluminescence, that is living luminescence light, that is called as living light. So they can produce a blue color light from the body. This property of producing light from the body is called as bioluminescence. The uses of this light is to see the prey and also to select the partner during the reproduction. So let's revise the topic quickly. Phylum Ctenophora. I thought that you can also refer the textbook. Phylum Ctenophora, commonly called as sea walnuts or comb jellies. These are exclusively marine, seen only in the seawater. Just like the coelenterats, these are radially symmetrical, diploblastic with tissue level of organization. By the name Ctenophora, they have these comb plates. These are 8 external rows of ciliated plates which actually help in the swimming process. Digestion, same as Cnidaria, both extracellular and intracellular. Reproduction is only sexual. External fertilization, larva is present, so called as indirect development. What is special property? The bioluminescence, production of light from the body is a special property. So hope you have revised the textbook also for this one. Let's go for the examples. The common examples are pleurobrachia. What you see in the diagram is a pleurobrachia and ctenoplana. So common examples are pleurobrachia. Pleurobrachia has 2 extra tentacles also. And the second example is ctenoplana. So this is about the third phylum, Phylum Ctenophora. In the description box of this video, you can find the Telegram channel link. If you follow the Telegram, there you have the daily practice papers. So prepare well for your NEET examination.